Hey guys, welcome to The Market is Open. When investors purchase shares in a company, there are many risks involved. In fact, every public company, including Tesla, includes pages and pages of outlining every possible risk to their business with every quarterly and annual report that the company publishes. Of course, companies are mainly including this information to protect themselves from lawsuits should any occur. They can always refer back to their long-winded documents and find some clause that says, "We told you so, we outlined every possible risk." And that's why most people just skip over this mundane section if they ever even bother to look at a company's financial reporting. Many Tesla shareholders who are strong advocates of the company will argue that Tesla doesn't really have too many risks, especially not from the competition, many of which are stuck with obsolete technologies, selling polluting vehicles, and who milk their customers with cars that are built to break down and to capitalize on it with overpriced dealerships. However, if you ask these Tesla advocates what is the biggest risk for the company, many of them will eventually come to the conclusion that if anything happens to Elon Musk, that could be devastating for the company. So let's have a closer look at the risks behind Tesla, if Elon Musk is in fact the biggest risk to the company, or if there's something else that may be more critical to the conservation and safeguarding of Tesla for the long term. But before we begin, please hit the bell button to subscribe and be notified of upcoming Tesla videos, and smash the like button at any time to help support this video. We'd super appreciate that. You can also support the channel further at Patreon at patreon.com/themarketisopen, where we give a shout out to our patrons at the end of each video. Also, stop using Yahoo Finance, stop using Google Finance, and have a look at our website, themarketisopen.com, where we have instant stock quotes and financial data for every single company going back 9 years, and it's all freely available. For a company with the size and scale of Tesla, there are a broad range of stakeholders that want to see the company succeed. There are shareholders who want to make a return on their investment. There are employees and workers and managers who work for Tesla and receive a paycheck to provide for their families. Tesla's reach also extends to service centers and suppliers and developers and many others who benefit from the economic growth and prosperity that Tesla is creating as it grows. Many people around the world, shareholders or not, believe in the company's mission to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport, which is quite important for the citizens of the planet Earth, and if Tesla doesn't succeed here, then it's not fully known what damage could be caused related to pollution or climate change or health and more. However, each of these stakeholders may measure success slightly differently. For example, someone who's purely an environmentalist, a Tesla going completely bankrupt could be seen as a failure if it prevents global sustainable transport from being created as fast as it would be with Tesla in the picture. Of course, Tesla has already managed to get the ball rolling and other companies are making EVs, then Tesla is no longer needed, could still be seen as a success. Except that there would be many Tesla shareholders who would not define that as a success. Shareholders typically look for a return on their investment, and much of the time a return that outperforms other investments or benchmarks or opportunities where their money could have been deployed. This normally has to do with expectations. If Tesla were to grow just 1% per year, the value of the company would likely crash, as even though a company is still growing and is not bankrupt, this scenario would be far below expectations of the rapid growth that people anticipate. Furthermore, along these lines, future success could lead to a world of great new products, new types of vehicles built off of Tesla's current products, huge engineering breakthroughs, app stores being created, new types of jobs being created, a type of future success that makes the world a better place, something Elon Musk has discussed that people want to see come to realization. But basically, people define success in many different ways, and because of that, everyone looks at risks differently. So what is Tesla's biggest risk? That might be subjective. According to Tesla's financial reports, risks for shareholders fall into two major categories: the risks to the business itself and the risks to the ownership of the common stock. The latter has to do with the stock price being volatile or Tesla failing to meet guidance or analyst expectations. There are many potential scenarios, one of which is that Elon Musk could be forced to sell his stock if he has to pay back certain loans, and that could drop the share price. But I think the biggest risk would likely be more related to the company's operations. Because Tesla has seen crazy stock price fluctuations in the past, some investors welcome this to get in at better prices, but the business itself is what Tesla communities are focused on. So in terms of the business risks, let's look at Tesla's production of new technologies. Tesla has made very bold predictions and investments, which could cause delays or other complications, or may not even pan out. They put their latest technology inside the Model Y and the Model 3, which they also need to scale massively. Remember the Model X, the Fabergé egg of cars, how many delays they had bringing it to the market and servicing customer problems. I think that Tesla now has a track record of overcoming issues with new technologies and with suppliers even. Elon Musk has said that they're bringing even more things in-house now, which is meant to further mitigate disruptions in the supply chain. Tesla is even getting into the lithium mining business, which may have additional, safety risks, but is meant to alleviate any potential supply chain issues. Tesla has also promised great specs for the Tesla Semi that the truck needs to live up to. Their Cybertruck design involves new technologies which Elon has cautioned that could experience delays and issues in terms of the ramp up of that vehicle. Tesla is also betting heavily on full self-driving, and they could unintentionally push out software updates that break things or cause accidents, or maybe it takes 10 more years for Tesla to reach the desired number of nines that they need to make the vehicle much safer than humans and appease regulators. I think that all of these technologies, including not just the major projects, but also the small details, such as some of the small parts within the Model Y that Tesla redesigned that sit in the background and no one really knows about except for maybe Sandy Munro, I think this is what makes Tesla exciting, and although it's outlined as a risk, which it is, it also has a great reward attached to it, and so it's important to simply manage expectations in my opinion, because people are willing to endure delays and hardships in order to achieve something incredible, or more advanced, or something that pushes the boundaries of what we have today. Other risks to Tesla are related to adoption of their vehicles, which is always a concern for short sellers who come on TV. Again, Tesla is betting big on electric vehicles, and right now the demand is outstripping the supply. However, Tesla is building 3 gigafactories at once. They plan to add hundreds of gigawatt hours of battery capacity over the next decade, and so demand needs to be there, and people need to adopt electric vehicles. Otherwise, their huge investments would go to waste. This list outlines some of the factors that could affect demand. I think this is important for Tesla to consider, although it's probably not exactly the biggest risk in my opinion. I view much of this as an opportunity. For example, I think that today the market for vehicles is huge, about 90 to 100 million cars sold per year worldwide. And so for the first item, the perception of vehicle features, quality, safety, performance, and cost, I think the knowledge of EVs today is actually quite low worldwide, and there's an opportunity to educate and expand the EV market right into the gas car market through word of mouth, test drives, etc. So it's a risk, but it's also an opportunity. Tesla talks about the perception of limited range. Again, I think that turns into a selling feature. Tesla also talks about competition as a risk. They're not doing so great at the moment in my opinion, but I'm expecting real competition to arrive eventually because the car market is so big that Tesla can't do all of it on its own. To me, competition is a little bit exciting because in order to compete with Tesla, these other companies will have to innovate. And that's great for consumers, but even for Tesla shareholders, I think it's positive because Tesla can build on top of what they see others do and integrate new ideas into their own vehicles. My opinion is I actually think that copying from others and building more on top of it is a great strategy for Tesla. Apple has done this for sure. However, you might say that companies will sue Tesla for doing that. I don't think that's the case. Because Elon opened up the patents, he's created a playing field in which everyone in the industry can work together and use each other's ideas to expand the market. Tesla's large patent moat comes into play if anyone tries to sue them. That said, some companies steal information from Tesla. I think that the government should deal with that, and Tesla should take steps, they are already, but to protect their data as best as possible, but that is a risk. The fourth point down, volatility in the cost of oil and gasoline. Why is that there? Why is that a risk for Tesla? Well, if EVs start to make a dent in the gas car market, then fewer people will drive cars, and that means there's an excess of oil production in the world, which would lower gas prices. Meaning that why should I switch to an EV if the gas prices are so cheap? So Tesla's success could actually create resistance to EV adoption. Government is also a major risk for Tesla. I think they've shown that they can be rather competitive without government subsidies at this time. I think that certain CO2 emission regulations, certain incentives are actually meant to help Tesla, but at the same time anything can change. The oil and gas industry is heavily subsidized. If oil stays depressed for so long, they may get more subsidies or bailouts, which could hurt Tesla. Many worried about government policies in China as well. Currently, China is very accepting of Tesla, but perhaps that could change on a whim. Now, there are other factors, but many of these risks are also associated with a very clear opportunity. And for that reason, I don't consider them major downside risks if they can be outweighed by the future potential upside. Like for Tesla, everywhere they look, they see opportunity to disrupt and take market share, and that's upside. Whereas a company like Volkswagen, for example, already sells 10 million vehicles per year and isn't trying to grow that but to maintain it, so I think they have more to lose, which to me is a much larger risk. Now let's discuss what most people probably think is Tesla's biggest risk. If you ask any shareholder, they'll probably say, well, if anything happens to Elon Musk, that could be a pretty big problem for Tesla. Even Tesla mentions in each report that they are highly dependent on the services of Elon Musk, the company's CEO. And I mean, maybe a few years ago, every Tesla bear viewed Elon Musk as a liability for the company due to his tweets, but he is in fact a major asset. Whether it's his technical knowledge of the products, bringing new ideas into the company, setting the future vision, motivating employees, I think that Elon Musk is also a one-man marketing team for the company with all of his interviews, his Twitter account, and he's been instrumental in building Tesla and getting the word out, which has helped with demand for the vehicles without any advertising dollars spent. Now this risk factor has come to light more recently, as Elon Musk likely has or had a mild case of the coronavirus. Of course, he did have 2 negative tests and 2 positive tests, followed by another positive test, though he does say that his symptoms seem to have subsided. But the point here is that if anything happens to Elon, that could be pretty devastating for Tesla. I agree with this, however, I don't think that it's Tesla's biggest risk. Let's look at Apple and see why. After Steve Jobs passed away in 2011, he was instrumental to the company, but the stock is up about 1,000% since then over the last 9 years, and Apple is arguably stronger than ever. What Steve Jobs created at Apple was the culture, which didn't disappear after he left. And as part of that, he assembled a great team which reinforced that culture and the mission of the company to create great products. And so I see a similarity with Tesla, how Elon Musk has assembled a killer team of 60,000 employees who all believe in Tesla's mission and the urgency of it. And while no one could identically replace Steve Jobs, no one can replace Elon either, at least not until Neuralink is ready. But I think that Elon Musk has taken steps to create strong, independent teams, and they've laid out a mission that's very clear, in my opinion, of what Tesla needs to do for the long-term future. The snowball seems to be a little bit large to stop now. I don't think that Tesla ends if Elon Musk disappears. It would be pretty bad for the company, but the company can recover and continue just as Apple did, and companies have the potential to last forever. Now, what do I think is the actual biggest risk for the company? I used to think maybe a year ago that the biggest risk was sort of the Tesla community itself. One reason, which I think this might be true a little bit, is that the Tesla community is more bullish than anyone else on Tesla, which is fine and great. But when people start making extremely bullish predictions on Tesla or their financials, it takes away the element of surprise and raises expectations extremely high, such that when Tesla reports deliveries, for example, a number that would be great if it stood alone, but everyone is disappointed because their expectations were so much higher. And that creates a negative perception around the company, like, oh, Tesla misses expectations again. And I think that's a risk that could actually hurt real sales. Perception is very important, and Tesla highlights it many times in their quarterly reports. A second reason along those lines is word of mouth, which Tesla relies on a lot to sell cars. I used to think that the community could turn on Tesla, and that would be a major risk. A lot of YouTube channels that help to popularize Tesla seem to have felt like they needed to be more broad and more diversified and talk about all EVs to have more content, which is fine, but it felt like people would jump on whatever the next EV company or product was, and they had very little loyalty to Tesla. I don't think that's the case anymore. Everyone is still talking about Tesla, and no one cares about the competition. Even the people that have broadened out mainly talk about Tesla still, and that's again similar to Apple, how for a company that's 40-something years old is still as popular as ever, if not more popular than ever, and so why exactly is that? I think it all boils down to the continuation of making great products. If Tesla deviates from that for whatever reason, then I think that's the biggest risk. Now you might say that Elon Musk leaving the company would cause the products to immediately become inferior. I don't think that's the case, but in order to make great products, innovation plus execution are key to coming up with compelling ideas that people want and bringing them to market in a timely fashion. And long term, I think that's the biggest risk for Tesla, making sure that remains intact. I remember watching a video a long time ago with iJustine, who covers Apple, and someone asked her in an interview, what would change your mind about Apple and make you focus your channel on some other company? And she said something like, nothing, unless Apple stopped making great products or some other company was able to do it better. And so that stood out to me because it's true for many companies, including Tesla. The reason why people can't stop talking about Tesla and the word of mouth spreads and in turn the sales go up and the company has money to reinvest in the business is that they're innovating and people are excited and want to talk about it. Everyone else is trying to catch up, but Tesla is disrupting and revolutionizing the industry and coming up with new ideas all of the time, listening to their customers and adding more features that people love. And I think long term that that's the recipe for success, and so not doing that would be the biggest risk for the company. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Now there are many more interesting risks to discuss and I wasn't able to get to all of them in this video, so I've tried to highlight the major ones on people's minds. What do you think is Tesla's biggest risk? Let us know in the comments section below, and tell me what you thought of my take on Tesla's risks. Don't forget to hit the like button on this video, we'd super appreciate that. Please subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified of upcoming Tesla content, and you can support us further on Patreon at patreon.com/themarketisopen. You guys are awesome. A special thanks to Bradford Ferguson of Halter Ferguson Financial and to all of our patrons that helped us support our channel. Your support helps us to continue to make great content. Thank you guys so much for watching.